What's up guys, this is Ray, and today we'll be talking about the 2019 Japanese movie Hit Me Anyone One More Time, directed by Mitani Koki and starring Nakai Kiichi. But before we dive into this review, if you are new to Eiga-Man Ray, I upload reviews of Japanese movies every chance I get, so if you're new to my channel and you dig my content, I'd greatly appreciate a like, and of course, I definitely appreciate it if you subscribe. So back to this movie, Hit Me Anyone One More Time. It's a movie directed by Mitani Koki, as I stated earlier. For those of you guys that don't know, I genuinely love Mitani Koki's movies. If you guys don't know Mitani Koki, a movie I'd recommend diving into to get to know the director is A Ghost of a Chance and even The Magic Hour. Both movies I have reviewed on this channel. But Mitani Koki, his movies are large ensemble pieces that definitely float more towards the comedic side of things. So if you want movies that feel like they're a stage play with a lot of moving pieces with the intention of being lighthearted and smile-inducing, then Mitani Koki's movies are for you. And if I'm not mistaken, Mitani Koki writes most of his movies too, so I think whenever I watch a Mitani Koki movie, I get the experience of watching a stage play, that's not only directed by the director, but also written by the director. The story of Hit Me Anyone One More Time stars Nakai Kiichi as this guy named Kuroda. He wakes up in a hospital bed. He has no recollection of what happened or who he is. He has a bit of amnesia, obviously. But then as he walks around and he interacts with different people, he learns that he is actually the Prime Minister of Japan, Prime Minister Kuroda. But on top of that, he realizes that he is the most disliked Prime Minister in all of history. He has the lowest ratings ever recorded. And when he learns about this, he's kind of in a bit of a shock because the Kuroda who wakes up, he's actually a pretty nice dude, seems gentle, he seems like he just wants to make the world a better place. So, he's definitely held aback when he finds out that nobody likes him. So the only people who are aware of Kuroda's memory loss are his three secretaries, one of which is played by Dean Fujioka, who I think is absolutely cool. I love Dean Fujioka whenever he's on screen. Anyways, essentially the story is about Prime Minister Kuroda trying to go about his day-to-day, trying to run the Japanese government and handle all his relationships and business affairs without letting the world know that he had lost his memory. And on top of that, trying to do a reverse of what he's been doing up to this moment. He's trying to get back into the public's favor. He's trying to figure out just how to make things good. So when it comes to the positives of Hit Me Anyone One More Time, well, as you can expect, this movie is definitely lighthearted and it's filled with a lot of comedic moments. I think, admittedly, this movie I feel has fewer comedic moments than a typical Mitani Koki movie. I say that when comparing to some of my favorite movies of his, as I mentioned earlier, Ghost of a Chance and The Magic Hour. For me, those are like his top movies. The Kyoto Conference is not that bad either, as is the Uchoten Hotel, but definitely this movie, while not as comedic as some of his other movies, I felt like this movie had a lot of moments that definitely earned the smiles that you gave it. And at the core of all the performers, we have Nakai Kiichi, who is an outstanding actor. And this isn't the first time Nakai has appeared in a Mitani movie. He's also appeared in A Ghost of a Chance. But Nakai Kiichi does exceptionally well playing kind of two characters. You have the hateful Prime Minister Kuroda, who no one likes, who basically talks down on everyone, who even curses and slanders everyone. And then you have nice guy Prime Minister Kuroda, post amnesia. And Nakai does well at making both Kurodas either despicable or likable. This is a genuine fish out of water story, and I think for those of you who like fish out of water comedies, you would definitely find yourself at home in this movie. As with the other performers, Dean Fujioka does an excellent job too. Kind of plays like the man was kind of cool and calculating. And you also have another secretary played by Koike Eiko, who starts off really stiff at first and really learns to loosen up and have fun with this new Prime Minister Kuroda. And you also have the beautiful Ishida, Yuriko, playing the First Lady, if you will. Not really the First Lady, what do they call them? The wife of the Prime Minister, and she also did an excellent job. And I really dug the relationship between Prime Minister Kuroda and his wife, because essentially, he when he comes home at first, after he wakes up, he kind of approaches his wife as one would normally approach their wife, filled with love or what all, but she's kind of taken aback at first. She's like, "Who are you? Like, what are you doing? You never treat me like this." She almost thinks of him as some kind of weird, creepy stalker, just with the sheer amount of affection that he's showing her. And that kind of tells a lot about Kuroda's character. And for me, that, this kind of dynamic, it's prevalent throughout Kuroda's relationships with all the characters, and it's funny to see every time. And one thing to expect when you watch a Mitani Koki movie is that you can expect to see a lot of big names just pop in and out of the story, well, in both small roles and larger roles. And I think it's fun to see which big names he gets to pop in and out of his story. You have bigger roles here played by Sato Koichi and Yoshida Yo, and you have even smaller roles played by Tanaka Kei, who recently, I think the past few years, he's been everywhere in like TV dramas and movies too. And his role in this movie is actually quite funny. But for me, I think one of the standout performers, just because of how ridiculous the part is, belongs to Kimura Yoshino. Kimura Yoshino plays the president of the USA named Susan St. James Narikawa, and she first comes on speaking pretty damn good English, and she speaks with the same kind of, how do you say, stereotypical, not arrogance, but stereotypical confidence that Americans are usually portrayed with in Japanese movies. I don't know how much of an actual fluent speaker Kimura Yoshino is, but she did a good job with her English speaking. But when it comes to negatives of Hit Me Anyone One More Time, as I mentioned earlier, this movie doesn't have as many comedic moments as Mitani's previous movies, although I do think this movie is way better than The Galaxy Turnpike, which came out a few years ago. For me, that movie was just okay. This movie was, it's still not his best work, but it's still miles above The Galaxy Turnpike. And another thing, usually something that I would look forward to in a Mitani Koki movie is the appearance of Nishida Toshiyuki, who is a funny actor, especially when he's in a Mitani Koki movie. But I don't think Nishida was in this movie at all. I think this movie would have benefited a lot from Nishida's appearance. But yeah. And another thing, I think this movie may not sit well for fans who are looking for, how do you say, like a 100% cohesive story, just mainly because while there is an end point, an end game for the story and where it wants to go, there is a lot of clutter, there's a lot of mess, and a lot of small mini episodes that kind of they just kind of jumbled up the story a little bit. I don't know, as someone who likes Mitani Koki fans, you kind of get used to the kind of thing, and a lot of it does tie up towards the end, but yeah, to get to that end point, you have to sift through a lot of mess. And lastly, another negative is that there's some points that you would think would cause a big, a big uproar with a story that kind of just end like, with no real repercussions. It just kind of end, and I feel like some of those things, the way it ends, are just kind of anticlimactic. The way it resolved itself was undeserved. But overall, what do I have to say about Hit Me Anyone One More Time? It's funny, as I mentioned earlier. This movie has a lot of heart, and I think this movie tries to go through more dramatic punches than a typical Mitani Koki movie, especially the ending. I felt the ending ended on a much more emotional punch, and for me, that's a great thing. Because after all, it's a movie about a guy who wakes up realizing he's the most disgusting and disliked person in the country, and he tries to make things with his fellow politicians, with the people of the country, and most importantly, his family. So at least the movie was consistent in sticking with those themes. So if you're looking for a story about a fish out of water, and also a story about the quest for redemption, then this movie would entertain you. But anyways, yes, those are my thoughts on Hit Me Anyone One More Time. What did you guys think? What kind of questions did you guys have? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you're a Mitani Koki fan, let me know what is your favorite Mitani movie. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you to my patrons over at Patreon for keeping this channel alive. And everyone, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you all again in the next video. Take it easy.